Hi, Scorpio Sun and Rising. Welcome to your December 2024 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So, Scorpio, when it's Sagittarius season, as it is for the first 3 weeks of the month, that's like cha-ching time for you because that's your second house of earned income. So, in addition to the new moon, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, which is happening on the first of the month, Mercury I'm going to just keep it real. It's going retrograde because I'm recording this in the earlier part of November, and it's going retrograde at 22 degrees of Sagittarius on the 25th of November. So many of you may actually be listening before that date or in November, and you will be able to see how this plays out because there can be some kind of delay. You know, if you think about Mercury as communication, it's also the tools of communication. So letters, envelopes, well, yeah, those are kind of the same things, but, mailings, but it could have something to do with money since it's starting in your second house. So, if you're listening before then, keep that in mind if you have some kind of check that is supposed to come, because it could get lost in the mail. If there's any way to do a tracer or something ahead of time, that would be the best. But it could be something that you have no control over that is coming to you. And even, I would say, like a direct deposit, God forbid that something got screwed up that way electronically. But, I think you get the idea. And even just earnings in general, if you find that something is feeling like it's blocked a little bit or wonky, slowed down for some reason, understand that Mercury is a very quick moving planet. And so even during these well publicized by astrologers, these Mercury retrogrades, they really do go very quickly. So so don't panic is the bottom line. And if you're listening ahead of time, to try to safeguard these kinds of things to prevent whatever might happen. But on the first of the month, we have a new moon at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. Like I said, Mercury goes retrograde in Sag in the last week of November. So you're going to have these two things happening in the two signs concurrently. It doesn't mean that you cannot experience new developments with this area of life, your earnings, but it might be that because it is in the same sign as the Mercury retrograde, that it's possible that it will take until Mercury goes direct for this to really stabilize or manifest is a better word. And I noticed that when Mercury does go direct, which is going to be on the 15th, it is going to be like within a few degrees of the of the new moon that happened 2 weeks earlier. So there might be some connection with that. So a new moon in the second can be a new income stream, a new idea for an income stream, new circumstances with your finances. On the 6th, Mars goes retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo. Pay attention to this one because this is going to be a story that plays out until, I would say, early May, when Mars finally comes out of its shadow from Leo. And that doesn't even go into how it stays in Leo. I mean, it's just going to go back to 6 degrees in early May. So you can see how long it's going to take it to get out of Leo altogether. That's your 10th house of career, Scorpio. So this is a very important period of time for you professionally. It will go back into your 9th house into Cancer as well. And that will, even though that will be retrograding, it will be favorable because it will be a trine. This is a square to you, so there may be more friction, more frustration, especially when Mars is retrograding in Leo, but in any case, you can make great inroads career-wise in the next 6 months. Some of it will be during retrograde season, which you may find frustrating with your career, but overall, I think that you can make a lot of progress. But you have to, it's really about going after something that really aligns with you rather than something that may be more, um, may not be like even what you feel is ethical, because when it goes back into your ninth house, the issue of morality or the issue of your life philosophy can come up for review. And there's so many people, and this happens so much, where you talk about, I don't like the word morality, but ethical. Okay, you talk about what we do for a living and whether it's ethical. And then someone will say, well, it's not against the law, but that's not the point. The point is that there are these nuances about whether something somebody is doing is really um, in alignment with helping other people. For instance, in Buddhism, there's a term called right livelihood, which means that a practicing Buddhist wouldn't work in a liquor store. They wouldn't work. I mean, see, I think some Buddhists are actually, they are not vegetarians, but let's say they're vegetarians. They wouldn't work in a butcher shop. Um, there are just certain things that they might be legal in our society, but they're not something that we would look at as improving people's lives necessarily. And, people have differing opinions on that, obviously. So this may come up for you, but I'm not going to talk about the retrograde right in Cancer right now, which will be in that ninth house of God and your life philosophy. That would be, and all. And by the way, this is a general reading, so the time when it goes into that, into these areas is going to vary from person to person. But with the Mars retrograde in the 10th house, you may at the very least be thinking about changing your the way you pursue your goals, or what it is that you're actually doing. The 10th house can also be authority figures. So if you're listening in November when Mars is still direct and it's in Leo as I record this, be careful about conflicts with higher ups, because you are co-ruled by Mars, Leo, along with Pluto. And so this is one of your rulers. I think when people think about the sign of Scorpio, or at least when I think about it, I think I would use the word, besides intense, which is the go-to word, I would say fierce, and it's different. The word fierce to me is different than aggressive, like I would say with Aries. It might be, like if you looked in the dictionary, it might be synonymous. But to me, ferocity is, it takes it to a whole new level. It's not just about being aggressive and being, quick to act and quick to defend and all of that, and going for what you want. That's how I see Aries. But I see Scorpio, because Scorpio is the scorpion with the sting. The sting is like this punishment, for, or maybe like a preemptive attack even. And so with Scorpio being such a secretive or mysterious sign, there's often another person may not know why that individual is kind of striking out at them, because that person may not like air their grievances. They may just kind of seek revenge. So to your experience with Mars may be different than the average Aries person, is what I'm getting at. So be careful while Mars is still direct. Be careful about that, because you may find that you're actually fighting your father. The 10th house can be your father. Some people say the mother, they say the 4th house is the father. Not me. Okay? The authority figure, the archetype of the authority figure to me is I would call it the divine masculine when it's, in not in some kind of a toxic type of power grab. And so people who fight authority figures just kind of like by force of habit, if you look in their past, they probably had a father or a stepfather who was abusive, who was authoritarian, dictatorial, and they resented the hell out of it. And so then they project it onto other people. And because you're a water sign, you tend to, and a fixed water sign, you tend to really stay like very steadfast in your tendency to be quite like vindictive when, especially the lower nature. If you're a high enough vibration Scorpio person, you're going to say, something, I don't want that lower energy in my life. And if something is meant to, I want somebody to, because this is how I feel. And I just found out that I'm a 29th degree Scorpio in Vedic astrology instead of a Sagittarian. So I really, and even in Western astrology, my sun is in the 8th house. So I really feel like I tune into the scorpionic vibe. And how I feel about it is I want people to learn. I don't want people, it's not about punishment, but I want them to see what they've done. I want them to feel I want them to feel, because a lot of times people who do terrible things have no empathy. And so it doesn't bother them. They might not even have a conscience. That's a sociopath or a psychopath. But the point is that I want people to really grasp why they did, why it's so wrong what they did or said. And once that happens, all of the rest of their karma to me is erased. Whatever bad things they've done. Because once you know, you know. And then, when you know better, you do better. I guess Maya Angelou said that. But, when you know better, you do better. And so then you don't make those mistakes over and over again and hurt people as much. I think as human beings, we might be destined to hurt people from time to time, even when we're not being malicious. So anyway, just keep that in mind. And when Mars goes retrograde on the 6th, you may feel very frustrated because you may feel like you're being thwarted career-wise. No. There's always a reason for all of this. And to me, one of the biggest reasons is that it's going to make you much more intentional and going after things for the right reasons. If you've ever been around somebody who's very ambitious, but it makes you uncomfortable because they're so competitive, that's not a healthy thing. It's not healthy because it causes people to create disharmony in their work environment, because it discourages collaboration. It's more about like me, what can I get out of this? And so it becomes easier to step on someone to get ahead. Another thing that I wanted to bring up with this is that your other ruler, Pluto, on November 19th, again, this is in the future for this recording, goes back into Aquarius, where it will remain for 20 years. Aquarius is your 4th house of home and family. This is, so as December starts, that's where Pluto is. And that is like a massive thing. Not everybody has a Pluto transit in their 4th house in their lifetime. I feel like these two things are connected. I mean, they are opposite houses. So maybe connected on that level, but also I feel like they're connected because I feel like you're going to be doing a lot of inner work when Pluto is in the fourth house. Now, you already had Pluto in the house of the mind, where you may have transformed your thoughts, maybe rewired your brain. Third house can be maybe power struggles with siblings that remind you how you grew up, and now you're really going to focus on your childhood, on your mother or your father, if you believe it's the father, one of your parents or both of your parents. But this can be very liberating, but it can also be very emotionally draining, emotionally upsetting in some way. And it really is something where I personally feel that people, they learn a lot about themselves, and some of it is things they never even thought bothered them. So you realize sometimes that you're acting out when certain things are happening, and you're like, oh, I thought I was angry at this person, but I was actually angry at that person. I thought I was angry at my boss, like my boss was dissing me, but actually I've been angry at my father all these years. So yeah, just keep that in mind. When Mars is retrograde, people can feel very angry in general, like they can't get it out, or that they're very easily triggered. So keep that in mind, because you're kind of in the spotlight. 10th house is your place in the world. On the 7th, Neptune goes direct at 27 degrees of Pisces in fellow water sign Pisces, in the 5th house of love and creativity. Also, Venus goes into Aquarius. So Venus in that 4th house, I'll get to that in a minute, but these are happening on the same day. So with Neptune going direct in Pisces, some Scorpio people, if you are on the dating scene, you may have had some kind of disillusionment. Maybe it was with the scene itself. If you, let's say you had a long time where you were married or otherwise coupled, and you finally became single, and you just were met with one negative experience after the other. For some, it might have been a specific person you were dating who was not as they seemed, and you found out about it. That can, give somebody a jaded feeling about life, that everything is, just that feeling of being let down by circumstances. And what I would say is that it actually provides you information about what you really are wanting, because maybe you were looking at the wrong thing, and that's why you found the wrong person. On the same, and this can make you more idealistic, which is a good thing. On the same day, and by the way, this is good for our artists. You may have been disillusioned about your potential abilities, and now you are back on that track of creating. Venus in Aquarius in the 4th house joins Pluto there, and it can provide something harmonious with your mom, maybe even money from her, or money from the sale of a house. Maybe you're decorating your house in some way. On the 15th, we have a full moon at 23 degrees of Gemini. This is falling in your 8th house, which is the house that you rule in astrology. So it's a very intense placement, full moon, even though it's in Gemini, which is so lighthearted. For you, it's going to be a little bit more intense. But that's the story of your life, isn't it, Scorpio? This can be some kind of awareness of an inheritance or some other, I mean, you could even find out that your spouse is, draining the bank account or something like that. So it could be because it's the house of other people's money. You may have a spiritual download about your path and things, even like your shadow, which might come up for you. And it's an opportunity to purge your shadow too. And Mercury goes direct in that house of career on the same day. On the 21st, we have a winter solstice, northern hemisphere where I live. So the sun is going to start getting stronger, which I love when that happens. As I record this, we're not even to the point where it's like exactly 1 month before that's going on. So I can't wait till we start getting the sun increasing. It's always a good feeling. And of course, summer down under, it's a power period when the sun goes into a cardinal sign. In this case, the sun going into Capricorn. On the 29th on the West Coast and the 30th elsewhere, we have a black moon, which is the second new moon in a month. So the first one was in your second house in Sagittarius. This one is in Capricorn, so it's your third house, the house of the mind, what I would call the mundane mind. So what's the latest news? What's the latest gossip? Social media is the third house. These kinds of things. It can be any form of communication that you're involved in. It can be teaching and learning. So a new moon here could be new developments in these areas, and in one of these areas, like maybe if you're a teacher in between jobs, this is when you hear that they have a vacancy for a district and they want to know if you're interested. You may be like motivated to start some kind of blog, or just maybe you're going to journal your feelings in some way because you want to tap into that and you want to kind of like as therapy or something. That could be a possibility as well. So that's what I have for you, Scorpio. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.